Yo, what's up y'all? We're back with another action figure review. Today we're going to be checking out the BigFireBird Build Science Cat Lady Team Sunflower. Now I'm going to be honest, I have no idea who this character is. I got her from Show Z Store. I did try to do a little bit of research for her, but I could not find any link to a specific anime that she's actually from. But I gathered that BigFireBird is the brand, Science Cat Lady Team is the line, and Sunflower is her name. One thing I like about Show Z Store is they sell a lot of items that you might not find at like say Big Bad Toy Store or something like that. The bad part about them is you're looking at about 2 weeks for shipping. Now this is an interesting figure, but one thing about it is it's tricky to balance her. My first impression straight out of the package was she's cool, she's hot, she's tall, and we're gonna cover that when we get to the size comparisons a little bit later. But let's check out her details. I'm digging the anime manga look. She's super dynamic. She kind of reminds me of like Gundam meets Sailor Moon. Her design is a little busy, but I do like how the gold kind of breaks up her outfit. Light grays, dark grays, black, brown, pink, white. This figure's got a lot of colors. Her paint job isn't perfect, but it's mostly pretty good. I like that fluorescent pink right there for the shoulder armor. And I like her eyes too. If you look, you could actually make out some hearts inside of them, which is kind of cool. And I like the variation of purple too. That looks pretty good. In person, you can kind of make out some pink shading around her face, and I kind of wish that was a little lighter and there was more detail to kind of bring out the features like her nose. She does have some nice shading throughout her hair too, and the sculpt work looks really good for that ponytail. And that gluteus maximus kind of speaks for itself. They did an awesome job with that. Catch a little bit of airbrushing for her lower legs, and these triangle shaped crevices, I'm not really sure what that's about, but she looks really good, man. I think I'm gonna give her a 9 for her appearance. If you haven't noticed, it's actually some mixed media for her body, like her thighs and her cheeks is like that Fison material, so the appreciation for those type of bodies is going to be hit or miss. Me personally, I'm okay with it, but it does have its gripes. Like for starters, if you own any type of Fison bodies, like they tell you can't put them in a certain pose for too long. You might mess up the joints and stuff like that. Also, the Fison skin kind of attracts a lot of dust and particles, so you will have to deal with that. Unfortunately, I am noticing some quality control issues. Like for starters, this joint at her ponytail, like it separates when you try to rotate the hair around and stuff, so you will have to be mindful about that. So that's kind of annoying. She does have some flex though at her fingers. That's pretty cool. It's not a lot of detail for her tail, but it does have a bendy wire in it, so that's alright. But you want to be careful how you articulate it, as this whole assembly is kind of glued to the bottom half of her outfit, as well as these little side extensions right here. It looks like that's glued too, so be real careful with that. Also, it appears to be some type of adhesive that was at her forearm. I ended up messing that up thinking she had a rotation right there, but she doesn't. As a result, it kind of slides off and stuff when I articulate it. Now there is actually a rotation at the elbows, but listen to the instructions. It actually tells you want to grab it at that joint and then rotate it, rather than trying to grab it at the forearm. So I'll probably go back and glue this together later on. And another thing, I think her head is kind of a little big, so sometimes when you articulate it, the head gets a little bit floppy. What I usually do is make sure I push down on it a little bit, then it kind of puts a little more tension onto it. But yeah, I do think her head should have been just a little bit smaller. Just in case you were interested in perving it out, like the bottom part of her outfit, you can actually move it to the side, but there's no detail underneath there, so back to Pornhub. Also, it seems like a similar connection for her elbows for her knees. Like her right knee is a little bit loose, and it seems like you can kind of pull that one out too, so you do want to be mindful of that. I don't think it actually rotates, but there is actually a rotation just under the knee joint. I kind of missed that for the articulation. Also, the ankle joints could be a little tighter, so yeah, she does have some issues. For your accessories, so she does have a couple different facial options. So you got the stock face right here. We already took a look at that, and you can switch this off and just pull it out just like that. You want to be careful how you put it back in though, as you don't want to snap off that pig. And this face right here, I'm gonna call this one like the hentai face. Everybody knows this face right here, and I think it came out really good. Nice little detail, man. I think I could find some use for this. And then you have this face sculpt right here. I'm not really sure how to describe this one, man, but it looks alright. No real complaints for it. It's kind of like a koi face. And here we have her final face plate, which is probably my favorite one. I think I'll probably just keep this face on her for my display. This one, it looks really cool. Like, I think that she probably could have looked a little bit more like angrier, but this one is the closest you want to get, so I'll take it. Here we have an alternate hairpiece. This piece actually is the one that comes on her straight out of the package. I kind of like the other one better, so I'll just keep it as it is, but that's cool they threw that in there. And then she has a pretty good assortment of alternate hands, like these relaxed hands right here, which looks nice. nice. She's got the fist hands right there, which looks pretty cool. It's kind of shaped a little funky, like the thumb is kind of poked in, and they could have did a better job with the paint for that. She's got a left and right peace hand, so that's pretty cool. I like that. And then she's got two different type of grip hands. You get an alternate side for each of those hands, so 4 total. The bigger gripped hand, you can kind of use it for the base of her weapon, and the smaller one, you can use it for the hilt. And here's her weapon here. It looks like it can kind of dub as like a guitar or something, so I'm guessing she does music. It looks like in the middle of it is some type of speakers or old record players or something. I don't know. This is an interesting little design right here. Nice little colors and such. I do wish there was some more shading though, like a little bit more detail around it, but it's not a bad accessory. And then we have the hilt here, which just occurred to me. I'm missing a piece. You're actually supposed to pull this piece off and then slip it into her hand, but you can kind of see it in the photos and stuff. I'll have to turn around and look for that. You do want to be careful about that. But yeah, you can pull that whole hilt off and it kind of dubs as like a guitar or a mace. That's cool. And then lastly, you get this tool to adjust the direction of her eyes, which is nice, and you get a spare. So I always like when companies do stuff like that. Some people don't like the whole adjusting the eyes thing, but if it's easy to do, I love it. And then you also get the stand that comes with it. And it's always nice when companies include stuff like that. Like if you're going to charge a whole bunch of money for something, at least include something that's going to hold her up. One thing about it though, you can't pose her in the air as there's no way to adjust the stand, and it's kind of loose, so that's a little unfortunate. You can see a little logo for the base part of it, little logo for the edge, looks like maybe a cat or something like that. So I definitely appreciate they included a stand. That's pretty cool. Lastly, you got her instruction booklet, which does include instructions in English. That's nice. And then you have like, looks like a warranty. Be careful when you're swapping out the faces, because it just occurred to me there's actually some stress marks forming around that pig. That sucks. For your articulation, as I mentioned, she does have a joint at the ponytail. You can move that around, up and down, all around, all that good stuff. You do have some small hinge movement at the ears. There's no joint at the neck, but you can get her head going forward about that much. That's not too bad. She could look up a pretty good amount too. That's all right. You do get a little bit of tilt at the head. I do kind of wish that was a little bit better, but it's not too bad. It's going to get in the way if you try to rotate it, but she does get a full rotation. You get her arms out about that much. It's a little stiff when you first get it out of package. You can get a rotation at the shoulders, but those plates are going to get in the way a little bit, but you can still get it all the way around. As far as the elbows, you get those bad boys in about that much. Could be a little bit better, but that's all right. Don't forget you can swivel at that elbow, but hold it at the joint. You got a universal hinge for the hands, so you can move that around, all that good stuff. You got the full rotation for the arms as well. No butterfly joints for the arms, but if you get them up just above the boobs, you can actually get them to come in a really good amount, so she's perfect for dual wielding and all that good stuff. Minimal range as far as her torso movement, so she can't go back that much, and then she can't go forward that much because of that little piece at the bottom. So that is kind of unfortunate. You can get slightly more range than what I'm showing you for the side to side. You just got to break it in, take your time with it. Her legs is kind of what makes up for that ab crunch. Look how far up she can get her leg. That's wonderful. She also has a thigh swivel down there just beyond that feisting part. There is no swivel right there for the knee, but you do have one just below the joint. Get her knees to go in just that much, so I kind of wish that was just a little bit better, but I think you'll be okay with that. So the instructions say if you're going to move her legs out, you must lift it up first and then move it out, which kind of gets a little bit stiff, so do that at your own risk. But yeah, you can get those legs out a really good amount, full splits, and you can get her legs going back with a really good amount. That's awesome. She just has a swivel at the ankle. Scope work for her toes and the size of her headset have a little point to it, so be careful. You don't want to poke yourself with that. She goes up a really good amount. There is no toe hinge, and I already kind of went over the articulation for the tail. You can get her toes in a wonderful amount. That's sweet ass. And you can get them out a really good amount too. For some quick size comparisons, here we have it next to your McFarlane Katana, your Marvel Legends Shang-Chi, your very cool Villa, and your Marvel Select Robe. And lastly, here we have it next to your SH Figure Waltz Hawk, your Storm Collectible Scorpion, your Dancing Model Bleach, and your Koto Bukiya Zero Model Kit. Very well, good. Whoa, you're freaking hot. She's like a Gundam Amazonian porcelain goddess. Look at the bark on that tree. I climb that for sure. I Tarzan the hell out of that, you tall glass of skim milk. Otta. Final thoughts on the BigFireBird Build Sunflower. This figure's actually mostly pretty solid, though there are a couple different hiccups from the joint separating to the looseness, the weight on the ankles making it hard for her to balance, but she does come with a couple different accessories and she comes with a stand player. So for that reason, I'm going to get a quality of 8.5 and I'm going to give the accessories a 9. She could have came with an angry face. Her leg movement is actually pretty good, but she could have had more range at the knees though, and she could have had a joint at the neck. So for that reason, I'm going to give her articulation a 9.5. You know how it go, but I recommend her for the price point. Ooh, that's kind of rough, man. This figure's almost $100. I mean, though she comes with a lot and she's got a lot of things going for her, but for the price point, I can't really recommend it. That being said, I don't regret making the purchase. The final score, I'm gonna give her an 8.9. Alright, y'all, that's my video. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.